Hey guys, what's going on? Just finishing setting everything up right now. So this is my monthly Q&A live stream. I'm just going to be doing some work and answering your chat questions. So actually, I need to get the chat window over here on my right set up. Okay. Got a question about The Expanse. So this is gonna put me in sci-fi jail. This is gonna put me in give me a lot of trouble with some of my viewers, but I still need to watch it. I've heard nothing but good things about it, of course. But yeah, I'll talk in a minute about why I haven't seen it. So. Matthew Phillips, super chat. Thank you very much. $5 Canadian. First time seeing you live. I enjoy your content. Keep it up. Have you ever watched Andromeda? What are your thoughts about it? Andromeda with Kevin Sorbo. I have not. That's another one I need to get to. I understand that, of course, Roddenberry was involved with that. Hello, unknown. Yeah, so have I seen the new Dune movie? People are asking me if I've seen this and that, the other. I can't blame you. The thing about Dune is I I feel like I know it's basically it's made for the fans. Effectively, is like the what I've gathered from it, and that it's a good film for the fans. I wonder what level of familiarity with the universe I would need before I can really kind of go into a film like that and really get the most out of it. That's my honest feelings about it. It looks amazing, and by the way, I love Denis Villeneuve's work. Obviously, many of you know I made a video about Arrival on this channel, uh, a number of months ago. Um, obviously, Blade Runner, Prisoners, like all great films of his. Blade Runner 2049, that is. Um, so I can see myself watching Dune. I wanted to make a video about Dune, the lore. I did, but I didn't have enough time. I felt like I would have to get completely familiar with the universe. Um, so those are my thoughts on it. Sorry to disappoint. um, so basically, one reason, and this is something that my good buddy Andrew over at Phobia and I have talked about. Um, somebody asked him. I don't think he'd mind me sharing this. Somebody asked him the other day, like, "Have you seen this?" And then they said the name of a completely random show on Netflix that neither of us had heard of, and he said he just kind of blankly stared at them. The reason is, uh, free time, quote unquote, is quite rare for the two of us, being full time YouTubers. And so if somebody asked me, how come, I watch like mainly what I watch these days, and this is not exclusively true because like I obviously watch other things, but why do I mainly watch reruns of Star Trek? Somebody might ask me that. The answer is because it's for work. So that is to say the amount of free time that I have to watch other media, I have to use that very carefully. So I just got through doing a playthrough of Mass Effect 2, the Legendary Edition, but that was recording gameplay footage. So some new Mass Effect videos are coming to this channel soon, starting in November. But obviously I want to watch The Expanse. I want to watch Stargate because I know many of you guys have been asking me about it. I want to watch all kinds of stuff. When I get to it, we'll see. And I know that's disappointing for some people because I do want to talk about these other franchises. Obviously, obviously, I want to talk about things other than Star Trek sometimes on my channel, which I do already. But it's a matter of free time, and so it will happen. It will happen at some point. You only need to read the 900-page novel plus original movie plus other novels plus PC strategy game plus TV miniseries. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate the heads up. Does it suck when it becomes work? That's a good question. So, not really. I mean, I kind of watched. One of the reasons I watch Lower Decks is because you guys want to know my thoughts on the episodes. Some of you, would I be watching it as a Star Trek fan? Even would I be watching it if it weren't for that? Maybe. Would I be? And I like Lower Decks, by the way, so I'm glad that I did. Would I be watching Discovery if it weren't for the fact that it's and obviously in a lot of my 2021 videos especially, you've probably noticed me say the phrase "as we learn in Star Trek Discovery," or talk about some new information that has been added to the lore in Discovery. The reason for that is I need to be aware of everything all encompassing in the franchise. Does it become work? I mean, I still enjoy it. I'm watching The Next Generation right now. I've already seen every episode of The Next Generation at least once, many of them more than that. But I'm watching it particularly because I am, trying to become familiar with maybe some concepts that were explored that I maybe missed the first time around that I want to maybe do videos about. I'm going to do the same thing with Deep Space Nine. I really would like to do like a Dominion video series next year. Anyway, but yeah, when I say I'm watching it for work, really that's what I mean by that is I'm watching it for YouTube, my YouTube channel, which is my job, but it's fun. So that's that. Passing rid of Lex, weirdest sci-fi TV show ever. I feel like I've maybe heard of that. It's there's a lot of weird sci-fi TV shows. I haven't seen Altered Carbon. I will tell you one thing. I tried Black Mirror. If there's any people from England in the audience, because I know that's where it's made, my apologies for what I'm about to say, but I just don't get British media sometimes. British humor, British sensibilities, I guess. Yeah, Black Mirror. I again, like I said, I tried it. The first episode I watched, if anybody remembers, was USS Callister from season 4, I believe, with the guy that played Todd in Breaking Bad. That's how I remember that guy's name. He's an established actor. I should know his name. I'm an idiot. The guy that played Todd in Breaking Bad. You all know who I'm talking about. But okay, Black Mirror is now exclusively on American Netflix. Interesting. Yeah, like I said, I tried it, and I wasn't. Actually, it's one of those things where like some of the earlier episodes were better, like this, season 1 in particular. But I couldn't. Yeah, it lost me. Do you have a Discord, and if not, do you plan on making one? I'm glad you asked that as well. So, very serious answer. In the past, I have considered making one because I know a lot of YouTubers do that. A lot of people like have it as like a Patreon perk. I have not made one, as you know. Well, actually, you're asking me about that. I have not made one. Do I plan to make one in the future? I really don't know. I know that's something that a lot of people would like. So there's 2 reasons that I'm hesitant. Number one, I don't use the app myself for other fandoms or groups, what have you. So I've spent like a grand total of like mere minutes in the app. So you can call me a caveman for that, is because I'm not on the up and up with the technology that the kids are using these days. I'm 23, but another reason is, my God, having time to manage it. And I'm a small channel, obviously. Like my fan base, my audience is rather small compared to lots of other YouTubers. They have teams or people to work on it. I mean, I've got a couple people who proofread my scripts and watch my rough cuts for me, and sometimes shoot for me. That in and of itself takes up enough of their time. I don't know if I could find somebody to run a Discord for me. Maybe in the future. So yeah, long and short of it is, I don't have one. I don't know if I do plan on making one. I'm just being honest. But I might in the future. There's a lot of things I might do, because I know that would be popular, but it would have to be somebody else who runs it. Although Lex season 3 is pretty good science fantasy. Yeah, like I said, I feel like I've heard of it. I just don't know what it is. Add it to the list. Black Mirror seems redundant in some episodes. If you're saying what I think you're saying, maybe you are hinting at what I've seen a lot of people kind of meme about online, but rather unironically, is that Black Mirror is real life. That we're living in a Black Mirror episode. Um, is that do people still make that reference? They do. I've seen people on Twitter make that reference. Outer Limits was better. I haven't really seen much of Outer Limits. I'm familiar with it. Um, I actually, it's funny, the way I became familiar with it is a funny story. Years ago, I was researching the UFO stuff, right? And many of you will probably remember I made a video on my channel in June, kind of debunking UFOs, and that that upset some people. But as a man of science, I just had to give my honest, objective opinion. Um, but anyway, long ago, obviously, like, it's fine to research this stuff, and so part of my research brought me to the story of Betty and Barney Hill. If you are not familiar with Betty and Barney Hill, now these are people who I think later some of their story was like discredited and whatnot, but the story is they're basically an interracial couple. I don't know if they were in the South or the North. I think it might have been the North, but it doesn't matter for the story. Um, but they were driving home one night, a long, long way home from some party or something. I think I'm butchering it. And they had they basically like lost an hour of memory. They didn't know how they got from one place to another. Had no recollection of it, and they remembered, or they under hypnosis they revealed that they had been probed basically by aliens, and Betty described um, the aliens as being kind of like similar to the stereotypical gray alien that you would see in UFO stories, and one of the efforts to debunk it basically talked about how this couple had been watching The Outer Limits like mere days or weeks before this incident supposedly happened, and so that partially explained the you know appearance of the alien. Got a $10 super chat. I'll catch up on the chats before it, but we got $10 from Matthew. A YouTuber I follow started a Discord earlier this year. It's successful now, but he initially encountered loads of spammers and was lucky to have supporters he trusts manage it. Not everyone needs it. Okay. Okay. I see where this is going. You guys want me to start a Discord. um, I know I have people who would be willing to do it for me. There's a lot of changes that I want to make to my channel in 2022. I say a lot, not huge changes. I'll be announcing them later this year, but I may consider that. Like I said, I try to get people that I know personally to manage some of my stuff for me, but I know that some of you guys might be willing to do that, so I'll look into it. Thank you for the $10. It seems like people really want me to start a Discord, so I'll think about it, guys. I promise. I'm not just saying that. I will think about it, because I think that my channel is growing to the point where maybe it it could use a Discord. It'd be fun. Jesse Plemons, yes, the guy who played Todd in Breaking Bad. That's yes, Jesse Plemons. But I hear you, Tyler. He will forever be remembered as Todd from Breaking Bad. Oh man, that was funny. Let's see. Nothing will beat the original Twilight Zone. Right. I remember watching it when I was very young and left a lot of impressions on me. In fact, obviously William Shatner was in more than one episode, right? But he was definitely in the one with the thing on the wing of the plane, right? A classic. Nothing will beat the original Twilight Zone. In fact, I've actually heard negative things about the Jordan Peele reboot. But I remember it when I was in middle school. We watched an episode of The Twilight Zone, and it was the one where it was like I forget, it was it a man or a woman who was a person who was getting their had like facial reconstruction surgery and or something like that. And again, I'm butchering the hell out of this, but they with all the doctors, you didn't see their faces for the whole time, and it turns out that she was normal, and or she was human, and all the doctors had like kind of they looked like Tellarites, or they were pig had like pig faces or whatever. I remember I knew that episode. I had seen it before, so I knew it was coming. But I just remember my middle school class. Uh, this one kid was like cowering in the corner, like he had no idea what was coming. It was pretty funny. By the way, Dune PC strategy game back in the '90s was awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I've actually seen a lot of people, a lot of commentators, kind of talking about Dune media dating all the way back to the original books and some of the little. Actually, I guess I didn't really know there was a game, or I'd forgotten there was a game, but I know there was a 1984 movie by David Lynch. Actually, is that when it came out? Dune 19. Yeah, yeah, Dune 1984, David Lynch. That very very poorly received, and I think he's disavowed it. Maybe. Um, let's see. Benny Ben says they were New Hampshire. Betty and Barney Hill were New Hampshire. That makes sense. Yeah, a lot of countryside. Obviously, there's countryside in lots of states, but yeah, that does make sense. And I have caught up on chat somehow. Ooh, hold on a second. We got a 5 from Kinsey. The show is called Star Trek, but they never explain where the star is going. Shaking my head. What are we? Some kind of Star Trek? Actually, it was really. Uh, it was definitely a line of dialogue in First Contact when Zefram Cochrane said, "You're astronauts on some kind of Star Trek." Let me change this to live chat, not top chat. Battlestar Galactica or Doctor Who? I don't know. I need to watch the new Battlestar Galactica. And obviously Doctor Who. God, there's no way I could catch up on it in any timely manner. I've known plenty of people who are Doctor Who fans. Obviously, it's a quite big media franchise, quite popular sci-fi franchise in just across the world, U.S. and U.K. Yeah, because that constitutes the world. You guys know what I mean. But basically, there's so much variation between series that I don't know if I could form a whole opinion over. What what I are my impressions of the series as a whole. But just something else I need to catch up on. I would like to do videos about Doctor Who aliens one day, but I don't know if that's going to happen because I'm I know nothing about the franchise. I know Sonic Screwdriver, and I know that there's been like 9 doctors, 11, 12, 13 doctors, something like that. Yeah. Kinsey K, I'm glad I can finally come to these streams this time around. Yeah, it's great to have you here, man. Yeah, I'm trying to make my scheduling more consistent. That's something that people have been asking about, and I don't blame them in the slightest. I think for the foreseeable future, we seem to have been settling on like the last Monday of every month in the afternoon. But that might be changing again. I know. Orange River's streaming schedule is changing. Who could have seen this coming? uh, but not immediately. In the future, we'll talk about that later. You ever watch any of the X-Files? Tads. I actually want to go back and watch that as well because that I know they deal briefly with aliens a little bit. It actually might be fun to make a video about the since I do alien biology about Star Trek and other franchises, do an alien biology video about the supposed, the gray aliens or the reptilians or the whatever they call with the Norwegian, the Aryan thing. That's sounding kind of Nazi-ish. That's not what I meant. The Nordic aliens from folklore. There was a show called People of Earth. I don't know if any of you remember that. People of Earth, that was on a few years ago. It was a TBS comedy. Got canceled after 2 seasons. Wyatt Cenac was in it, and it featured those creatures. Have you played the Half-Life games? I have not. I'm actually this year kind of really starting to catch up on a lot of game franchises that I haven't played before. What is it with you guys ask me, have I seen this, seen that? Have I done this? Have I done that? I haven't. And I'm ashamed of it. No, seriously. I am starting to really get into. I mean, it probably will blow your mind to know, and I'm probably telling on myself a little bit, but 2021 is the year I started playing Mass Effect. 2021 is the year I will have started playing Metroid. My life story is a little unique, I suppose. Kenzie knows what I was up to in high school. That sounds weird, doesn't it? I was busy. Well, first off, I have always, I've been a Mario fan for a long time. You probably know that. You probably could tell that since I make so many Mario videos on a sci-fi channel. But I was busy making movies, and I only really got into YouTube. I mostly have done like media critiques and stuff like that. Fringe, obviously, long time ago, and Star Trek. Really been sleeping on a lot of game franchises though, so you're calling me out, but you have a right to, because I need to. I need to play Portal too. That's another one I've been meaning to. There's no way to even try catching up on the old Doctor Who ones. Lots of them are gone permanently. That's interesting. I actually didn't know that they were literally inaccessible. I know that there's been. I mean, it's a series that's been ongoing since 1964. Predating Star Trek even, and there's probably more hours of content for it than Star Trek, right? I mean, I feel like that's a fair assumption. Although, again, the way that British television works is a little different from American television, but I would imagine there's probably more Doctor Who content out there than Star Trek content. Is that accurate? Kinsey says you can't rush perfection. Damn straight. Which is your favorite Star Trek character? Well, I'm going to do the thing that I do when somebody asks me what's your favorite, and I'm going to say the cop-out answer, which is I don't just have one favorite. My favorite series is Deep Space Nine, and I've talked about this before. Naturally, you might think that would mean that Sisko is my favorite captain. Actually, Kirk is my favorite captain, and the reason that is because he knows exactly when to bend the rules to get a preferable outcome for whatever situation that they're in. And I actually think he's a better captain in that way than Picard. Watching Next Generation, the rewatch that I'm doing right now, as people have talked about this on various social media and comments, whatever, but like the amount of times that Picard dismisses a legitimate security suggestion by Worf is unparalleled. I mean, that's 24th century Starfleet for you. Any chance you're gonna tackle Stargate content? I guess that's one of the next series I need to watch. Is okay. So all right, let me put it this way. I know that you guys want me to talk about all these different sci-fi franchises, and I do. So I'm making a promise now. I can't put any hard. I've learned a long time ago not to put any hard dates on this kind of thing. Um, I will commit to watching some of the shows that you want me to talk about, because I do want to make, I want to make videos about this, other franchises. I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I have been making videos about, like one-off videos about, various Marvel things, and Arrival, Fantastic Planet, Alien Worlds. You guys know the drill. But it's only fair to you. Now, what I will say is, I don't know if I can promise that I can make these things like series, but one-off videos, sure. I can make a Stargate video, maybe. I can make a Expanse video, maybe. So, yeah, I want to, and here's the thing. Into my schedule, I want to make this perfectly clear. Into my schedule, built in 2022, as far as I've planned it out, I have built in, like places in my schedule where I can talk about little one-off things. I am going to talk about Mass Effect some more. I am going to talk about Metroid some more, and various other things that I could tease right now, but I want to save them. Okay, I didn't finish answering the question about who's my favorite Star Trek character. Well, you guys know how I feel about Tendi. But I actually think that Jadzia Dax might be one of my favorite characters, because she's got so much lived experience and skill and perspective, a unique perspective as a Trill. The Trill are actually one of my favorite species. So obviously, a alien species video about them is definitely coming down the pipeline. You'll see it. Springtime says hi, but I am at work. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Always good to have you. Springtime almost never misses a live stream. You might notice that Springtime has a little Orange River logo next to his name, and his name is highlighted in green. That is because Springtime is a member, a monthly donor to this channel. Only $5 a month, but he gets access, like other members and patrons on my Patreon, to exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Not just photos, but also deleted scenes from my video essays, trailers for future content, scrapped material, discount codes at my merch store. Does this sound appealing? You guys should become more like Springtime. He's a member. You can click the join button. All right, now that that's over. No need to play old video games these days. Every good video game story is a movie on YouTube now. Well, Metroid Dread is. I know Andrew's been trying to get me to. He's been bugging me a little bit. I'm using that phrasing in a playful manner to dive into that game, because it's been quite well received by fans. It's funny. He and I were actually discussing this the other day. There actually is merit in playing old video games. And obviously, I talk about old media, old episodes of Star Trek. You might remember from my past tense video that I made last year, that I said spoilers for this 1994 TV show ahead. But he covers on his channel. He covers a lot of obviously Dark Souls, but also like Metroid Fusion, and other old games. Like, there's still fans around that are interested in hearing things, about that, because you can't find it anymore. I mean, the hardware that these games were played on is somewhat scarce these days. I mean, for a lot of people, obviously, a lot of people still have their old DS or their old Game Boy or whatever, or what have you. But like, it's hard to find a lot of these things, even though they're on like the virtual store, the eShop or whatever. People people are nostalgic, I guess, really is the bottom line. Let's see. Your Fringe stuff was great. Thank you so much. I know that my most recent video kind of bombed. The about the observers. It's funny. Actually, I'll address this. I need to look at this chat in a sequential order. Yeah, lots of interesting alien creatures in Half-Life. I didn't realize that. That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of franchises that I need to touch on that have special, alien creatures in them. Yeah, I don't know how much more Fringe stuff I'm going to be able to do on this channel, to be honest. Obviously, much of it is like old back in my catalog, but not just because of like the view count or anything. And that's not what I'm talking about. But my God, I don't know if any of you saw this. I've talked about it on my Twitter, but it was such a pain in the ass to get YouTube, the content ID filters, to not sound the alarms over clips that were less than 10 seconds long. I can't work like that. I mean, Viacom CBS is bad enough about longer clips, and I probably shouldn't be saying too much about this. I don't want anybody to come after me, but but in my workflow, like, I have to be careful about how much material I use as copyrighted footage. Warner Brothers is even worse. Cosmonaut Variety Hours, a movie review channel that I watch quite a bit, and he's a big Dune fan, by the way. But some of you may be familiar with him, but he has to deal with this all the time for Warner Brothers. He covers he covers like DC content and other Warner Brothers content as well. He has to fight the copyright filters. So I don't know if I definitely am not going to be able to make regular Fringe content anymore. But that there's still a lot of people who appreciate it, but it's kind of old news at this point, which is unfortunate because it is one of my favorite shows of all time. Yeah, so Stargate. It seems like a lot of you want me to talk about Stargate, which I think it would be fun to kind of compare that franchise with Star Trek. So, you know what? I'll need to figure out where to get started because I know there's quite a bit of content. Although I might have a workaround for that, so I'll let you guys know in the future. Only 15 seasons and 3 films of Stargate. Easy day binge. We'll see. I'll work it in my schedule. Maybe I don't need to do my 3rd rewatch of DS9 quite yet. Man, love your stuff. Keep it up. This is from Benny's Bins. Thank you very much. I try. Are you going to give a theory about the Trill redesign? Oh, that's a great question. See, it's funny. I actually had considered just pretending it didn't exist, that the old design didn't exist. I guess I probably should talk about it. I think it is just like, what is it? Just one episode of The Next Generation where the old design is featured. I like the new design quite a bit more. I mean, I feel like it's more distinctive. I feel like that's not a controversial opinion at all. I feel like that's pretty much ubiquitous. I could probably talk about it. I think it's worth mentioning, I guess. That means I have to watch Rejoined. No, that's not the episode. Rejoined is a good episode of Deep Space Nine. I have to watch the episode of Next Generation, The Host. That's right. Yeah, that's what it's called. I have to watch The Host. Actually, I don't remember if it was a particularly bad episode or not. But I've been skipping some. I know that's heresy. I've been skipping some episodes on my TNG rewatch. You can burn me at the stake later. Not Sub Rosa, though. Gotta watch Sub Rosa. Have you ever thought about making what if Star Trek videos? You're actually not the first person to ask that. I'd like to do something kind of similar to that. I know a friend of mine had asked me about doing kind of scenarios that are sort of off the wall, like what if this species battled this species, maybe even cross franchise. I might do that at some point. I I've been trying to do comparison and contrast videos between like Star Trek and other media, but those seem to not be doing well. My Loki video didn't really do well at all. The Observer's video is not doing that well either. Um, Comparing the Observers with the Borg, um, yeah, those are two data points. You know, I have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. Like, how successful is this going to be on my channel? Because that is a very major consideration. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to make, like, you know, I have doubts as to whether Metroid or Mass Effect are going to be popular series on my channel, but I am going to make videos on them. Mass Effect videos, I actually, you know, all I have to do is really just record me. It took me 3 days, like less than 26 hours to do all of Mass Effect 2 Legendary Edition. I could, if I did it again, I could probably do it in less time. That's going to provide me enough material for half a dozen videos at least. So that's going to be easy to edit. The Metroid videos have been kind of hard to put together. There's so much there, but I'm not like averse to doing one-off videos, just even if they're not going to make any money. But um, I do have to consider, like, if I am going to make something a series. Well, actually, those are going to be series. You know, if I have to introduce like a new format, like how profitable is it going to be? How popular is it going to be? How much time investment is it going to take? How is it going to be received? Those are all considerations. But I do want to do what if scenarios. I want to maybe talk about like the temporal Cold War in some more detail. I did like a overview video of it a while ago, but I actually might want to kind of revisit that concept and talk about, like, you know, maybe some changes to the timeline that might have occurred. What would have happened if Q didn't introduce the Borg to Starfleet, or Starfleet to the Borg in 2365? So yeah, I might do that kind of stuff. Sorry for the old video games. I meant they are available as playthrough movies, so you can watch the entire video game story without needing the old Submerged games. So, I see. I wasn't trying to be uncharitable or anything with what you were saying about that. Actually just brought up a, you know, a point of conversation that I had with my friend about video game content on YouTube, like video essays. But yeah, it is kind of interesting actually that you're right. There are a lot of video game movies for just kind of like long plays on YouTube. You want me to do a vid, but you want g- hold on. It's from Kenzie. You want me to do a vid, but you give me all the bad stuff you want to say about YouTube copyright. it's it's just, you know, it's a headache, you know. Any chance of video about the biology of the changelings? That's a great question. So they are a species I want to cover soon on my channel. They are going to be I think at this point, monthly entries into that series, the alien biology, alien history, whatever, is what I am kind of leaning towards, what I've gotten myself into. That's not really the phrasing I wanted, but that's what the kind of the schedule I've fallen into. And so changelings are going to be a species that I would like to cover. Again, some of these things. So here's the thing: like, all of the videos that are going to be released on my channel for the rest of 2021, I know exactly what they are. They've been pre-planned, they've been scripted, many of them have been shot, many of them are in post right now. I do this shit way in advance. So if I add anything new to my schedule, it is going to be in 2022. If I add anything new to my pipeline, it is going to be in 2022 at least. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind, because I have to, I have to plan that far ahead. Not too far ahead, because you can't, well, another thing that I feel like the past couple years has taught a lot of us is you can't make like serious plans that you are unprepared to deviate from at a moment's notice too far out. But I know what I'm saying is, like, the videos that are coming out of my channel, I basically know what they are for the rest of the year. So new stuff will be coming. I think you guys are going to be incredibly excited about lots of the content I have planned for 2022. I want to talk about it in more detail, perhaps towards the end of the year. And there is going to be something changing about my streaming schedule. Again, it probably will be at the beginning of the year, but it might be sooner than that. When will Star Trek 4 come out? I don't know. Let's see. The new Star Trek 4. So this is 2023. So they actually have a release date for the fourth Kelvin timeline movie. It's funny, I haven't really kept up with a lot of news about it, because, in large part because there have been so many changes. There have been so many, developmental issues with it, new scripts, hiring and firing directors, cast members possibly walking. Chris Hemsworth was involved for a hot minute. Like, that kind of stuff. You would think, well, why wouldn't you keep up with it? Frankly, I was wondering if it was even going to be made at all. I feel like I'm not alone in that, I don't think, but 2023 seems to be, it is a direct sequel to Beyond, in terms of it has the same cast. So, I'll be interested. I'll be watching. I actually made a live chat. This is from Jeff. This, I feel like I am apologizing quite a bit for the fact that my streaming has been inconsistent. That was really more of a problem in the first half, or the first half of this year. I feel like I've kind of gotten into a groove with Monday afternoons. Some of you fine people are probably getting off work around this time, or maybe you work from home. Maybe you don't have a job. I'm not judging. I was unemployed too. We live in very hectic economic times. What I'm saying is, I'm glad you're here. So, quite festive lighting. Oh, yeah. I do have some Halloween decorations in the background. You guys ought to see. Man, you guys are going to get a kick out of what I've got coming Friday. Go check my community tab. Go open a new tab. Go to my channel. See what's on my community tab. You're going to get a kick out of it. Let's see. Good to hear it's in the pipeline. This is talking about changelings. Yeah, I want to do, I might want to do, like I referenced earlier, a Dominion video series, like a trilogy like I did for Mirror Universe. By the way, some of you fine people, you seem to have really, really taken a liking to my Mirror Universe videos, and for that, I am incredibly grateful. I don't have the three that I made this past few months. Those were the three Mirror Universe videos that I had planned for this year. But mark my words, Mirror Universe Tyler will grace your screen in 2022. That's a promise that I'm making. Basically, what I'm saying is I would like to make more Mirror Universe videos. I don't think it's going to be like a regular series, but it's going to be periodic, perhaps. I can check the community tab on my phone since I have you on my TV. There you go. I'm on somebody's TV. I forget. It's funny. Like I most of the time I use YouTube on a desktop computer, and I forget people watch YouTube on other devices. It's funny. Andrew and I were talking about this a while ago. So many people are probably aware of this, and some of you are probably doing this right now. But mobile is actually, I believe, like the most common device that people watch YouTube on these days. Makes sense. People are often out and about, and even when they're not, they watch stuff on their phone at home. Nevertheless, apparently included in that category is things like a PlayStation or an Xbox, or a Switch, or I don't know if like I don't know if televisions are considered mobile devices. Certainly don't consider them mobile devices. Actually, there's a separate category for that. But the reason I mention that is because it actually is kind of relevant to my work. Like I have to consider when I'm editing my videos, that people are going to be watching them on all kinds of different size screens. Actually, let's run a little poll down in the chat. How many of you watch my videos or YouTube in general on your phone versus on a TV or a desktop or laptop? What do you watch them on? Let's run that poll real quick. You used to have very cool hairstyles. Now it looks like you're going bald. Well, that's certainly a sentence that I just read. Thank you very much. I have a medical condition. No, I'm sorry. That was in poor taste. That was not very funny. Actually, maybe I am going bald. Yeah. It's something that, maybe perhaps should bother me more than it does, but at this point, it's like, what's new? I've already got poor eyesight. I'm fat. I'm not really fat. I'm not fat at all. I don't know why I said that. That was a very weird comment to make. Yeah, I guess I am just getting older, and I might become like Jean-Luc Picard, where I had a nice head of hair in my young days, and then eventually I lose it. I don't know if that thing about it skips a generation is true. Anyway. I know it's taking me a while. My apologies. It's taking me a while to get caught up on chat. Do we really know nearly nothing but misinformation about the Breen, as the founder indicated? It is possible. I know they're very secretive. By the way, the Breen are also another species I'm going to cover very soon on my channel, perhaps sooner than you might think. Yeah, look for another poll on my channel. I know I haven't been doing polls for the alien species videos soon, but I'm actually thinking about bringing that back in a limited capacity. So yeah, keep an eye out for the Breen maybe showing up in one of those soon. They said way less investment because it's not making enough money. What? Was that talking about? I forget what the context was for that. Been subscribed for a little while. Glad to finally catch a live stream. Thank you very much for subscribing. Yeah, I have been doing these my monthly Q&A Monday afternoons. Again, I'm always surprised at how many people seem to be showing up for a Monday afternoon live chat. In the next Star Trek movie, do you think they may deep fake Anton Yelchin, and how would fans react? Wow, that is a really interesting question. I hope they don't. I feel like that would be incredibly disrespectful of him. However, I don't know. I mean, they did that they kind of did that. Well, they didn't deep fake it. Did they? So I'm thinking about Leia in Star Wars, right? They had old footage of Carrie Fisher, and of course, she granted permission. I'm sure to the movie makers to include her image, because I mean it's Princess Leia. I mean she's got to be in Episode 9. By the way, can we talk about how much that film sucked? It was pretty bad, but I'm wondering, like, I mean, because how are they going to work that out? I have no idea. It's Chekhov. You got to have Chekhov. I feel like recasting would be a huge mistake. Maybe they can use voice clips of him and just not feature him as heavily. I don't know. Old footage. I don't know how that's going to happen. I would rather they didn't deep fake him because I feel like you shouldn't do that. I feel like that crosses a huge line. So if you want to know how one fan would react, that's my gut reaction. I could maybe be argued into here's why it's maybe not as here's why it's more acceptable perhaps in my initial gut reaction, but it would have to be a lot of convincing. So that's a really great question. I have no idea how they'll do that. It's a ghostly episode. Yeah, next episode is going to be uh ghost related. I told you guys that I was going to talk about non-corporeal beings. Remember early this month I told you what was in my pipeline. I kept my promise now, didn't I? By the way, I will say this. Uh, as you can, I don't want to spoil too much about it because I really want you guys to. I want to see your reaction to it. Um, um, you can probably tell that this is going to be a little, maybe a little more whimsical of a video since I'm using Sub Rosa as part of the marketing. Um, I will talk about non-corporeal species in a more serious fashion at a later date. That's my plan anyway. Um, I have a tentative date in the pipeline. I won't reveal it just yet in case it changes, but yeah. All right. Now that I'm catching up on the poll, let's see. Phone, TV, phone, cell, laptop, phone, TV, desktop, phone. So mostly phones. Seems like TVs and laptops slash computers are actually desktops seem to be in the minority. It's funny. Well, I mean, I use a laptop to watch most of the time, and or a desktop. Um, I guess it's because I work on it that I tend to kind of congregate around. I say that as if I'm a plural person. No, I sit in front of my computer to watch stuff in my downtime. Any of you heard of the channel Joe Scott? I just wanted to mention that this is a YouTube channel I've been kind of binging lately. He has given me. He's a science YouTuber. He has been giving me a lot of ideas for content. Just want to put that out there. Somebody said Tuesday night. Yeah, I know. I am in the southeastern United States, and so it is Monday where I am. Right? I got to make sure I'm not going crazy. Yeah, for my friends across the world, it is Tuesday. It is not Monday. But it seems that it's still plenty of good traffic. We got a good turnout tonight. Watching on an Android phone via Google Chromecast. So it seems like phones are the most common. So I should have expected that. It's funny. Some of you may have noticed this. I know most of you won't, and the fact that I'm mentioning it is just kind of a little OCD-ish on my part. I'm just using that as a turn of phrase. But I render my videos in 4K. I do that. I've come to understand that actually helps them in the algorithm. That actually helps them get promoted more easily in certain sectors. 4K 60. And some of you may notice that I interpolate some of my footage. I've been selective about that. I'm still kind of iffy on how, if I want to do that for all of my content, because as you can, as you can imagine, like, I mean, Star Trek and other old media was, and even some new media was intended to be viewed at 30 frames per second, but displayed for new monitors or whatever at 60 hertz. So there's a difference between the refresh rate of a video and the frame rate. naturally. Frame rate is how many still images per second are in this video. Industry standard is 29.97 frames per second. This is called NTSC. It's a broadcast signal standard that has been used for decades in television. Film is 23.98 frames per second. We call it 24 frames per second. But all of this media, if you are watching it now, if you have an older device, it's different. But if you have a new phone, if you have a new computer, you might actually have a higher refresh rate, but you were watching it most likely at 60 hertz. This is important for when I'm screen recording my content, and I'm still learning quite a bit. Like this is stuff that I learned in school, but I'm still learning more about it through experience. Sometimes the footage doesn't look right to me, so I've interpolated it, and it's pretty smooth. Some of you guys like that. Most of you don't notice, which is actually okay. I actually don't want you to notice, even though I'm saying something about it. The moral of the story is I'm still. How do we get on this conversation? Oh yeah, mobile phones. Yeah, most of you watch it on mobile phones. You're kind of seeing me little tiny little box that is my face, and then everything that is being viewed. So for the people who watch me on a TV, you may more often notice like the fact that it's in 4K. You might notice the refresh rate, the frame rate, and everything. I just, for my own videos, I kind of have to be mindful of what I want to accomplish with with those kind of video settings that I have to tweak all the time. And so the purpose of running this poll, just out of curiosity, I just want to confirm what my analytics are telling me, that, yeah, in fact, most of you do watch me on your phone. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't even remember how we got on the subject. Anyway, Hippie Blue says, I just subscribed. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Maybe find a specific way to send Chekhov off. It's from Ryan Howe. Yeah, it's possible. That's just sad. It really sucks that Anton Yelchin was taken from us way too soon. An accident that never should have happened. Man, yeah. I was going to say that complicated things. I mean, that's the least of the issues with the young man dying. I mean, but it frankly, it did complicate things. I mean, how do you address that? I am curious to see how they do that. Ryan's got to go. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. Boyedy OO says, love Joe Scott. Yeah, I see one person has heard of Joe Scott. Perhaps the new movie can have Death of Chekhov off screen and rally the crew together, either avenge or prevent what happened to him happening to someone else in universe, of course. It's possible. I don't know if I would really be a huge fan of them kind of making it that huge of a aspect of the story. I feel like it would be kind of distracting a little bit. I don't know. It depends on how they handle it. It would be, centering the story. I mean, I know stories like that are often centered around, but I mean, just think about when Leonard Nimoy died. It was basically like one scene where they kind of addressed that Elder Spock had died and beyond. I feel like that's probably the most organic way to go about it. Somebody's watching on a tablet. 4K users. Oh, somebody actually does care about the 4K. Interesting. I appreciate it. I try. I gotta have an excuse to show off my special camera lens and camera body that I've been shooting with. Bread and Circuses, Miri, and Omega Glory are alternate Earths, but they aren't explained as universes or alternate timelines. Any good retcons or decent science to explain these better? Great question. I actually, that sounds like even a possible video idea. I do at some point want to make a video about the so-called Hodgkin's law of parallel planetary development. But that's a separate thing. Like the fact that we see so many human-like races in the original series in particular, like parallel Earths, that it's convergent evolution taken to the extreme. So I might want to do a video about that. As far as like Earth copies, like in Miri, I think Bread and Circus's the continent layout was different. So that really is just more a case of convergent evolution of their history, where they happened to. I mean, just think about all the billions of planets in the galaxy that didn't have a Roman Empire analog. One of them does. I don't think that's really. I mean, statistically speaking, if you have a bunch of species in Star Trek that are human-like or even humanoid, period, the fact that they invent parallels to capitalism, the fact that they invent parallels to like mass media. Dr. Phlox talks about how Denobula used to have like something similar to movies like cinema, but they abandoned it because real life was far more interesting, quote unquote, which I find I find that kind of hilarious, parallel to how the movie industry is kind of dying in real life, or at least the traditional movie industry. But as far as like Miri in particular, and I think Omega Glory wasn't the Constitution and the American flag, wasn't that left by a Earth ship on there? It was like cultural contamination. The same thing that happened in A Piece of the Action. But as far as Miri, I know James Blish, I think, wrote the novelization for it. I don't know if it was him who did this or another author who gave his own theory about, or his or her own theory, that it was like a space-time fabric, like a spatial rift that copied Earth in its, not quantum entangled so much, but just like, it basically just kind of, it was like a transporter clone, except with an entire solar system, is basically the explanation that was given. I don't know if I really like that. I don't know. I feel like it would be really interesting. I mean, I feel like some kind of space-time distortion has got to be involved if the continent layout of Miri's planet is identical to do they not explain this in the episode? I guess they don't. I guess that was kind of part of your question, but I don't know. It's weird to think about some kind of space-time distortion, maybe. But that, I would like to come up with a more satisfying explanation. How likely is it for the remaining Star Trek 2009 cast to get to do another movie? I mean, I feel like that's kind of what Star Trek 4 is, right? I mean, that's, unless you're talking about beyond that, beyond. I actually don't know what the latest is with that. I know they're getting expensive. Let's see. Is this? I'm looking. I don't know. I don't think that the Kelvin timeline movies with that cast can continue indefinitely by any means, because they are getting quite expensive. Let's see. Have I watched Foundation? I have not watched Foundation. Actually, I feel like I might have heard of that as well. Foundation. Is that based on an Asimov novel? Oh yeah, I don't have Apple TV. I'm also not going to get Apple TV, so I might have to watch that through other means or wait on it. But I like Isaac Asimov's work. How do you feel about Jayla taking Chekhov's place? Huh. That's not a terrible suggestion at all. I like the character. I feel like she would fit in with the crew. Yeah, the whole taking Chekhov's place, again, it would be awkward for him to be missing, but it would also be awkward for him to, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to handle that. Movie theaters are going the way of the dinosaur because the pandemic taught people to watch everything at home. I mean, that's true. I mean, they were on their way out slowly before the pandemic. I mean, the prices alone. Let's be real. Movie theaters are a restaurant business. Movie theaters are in it for the concessions. I mean, that's really what drives their profits. And nobody barely has time anymore to buy, $20 popcorn or whatever. Like, it's kind of a scam. And you're absolutely right, though. I mean, COVID did accelerate that. people learn to watch stuff from home, and I think it's great. I mean, for years, people I know I've seen people clamor for this, and I've been one of them. I, I think it is ultimately like the way of the future that lots of new big releases that are expensive get released on home media immediately. In addition to theaters, I mean, the theater experience. I mean, I feel like the way we're going, and I think this is a good thing. I think it's a perfectly okay thing. Is the movie theater is becoming an enhanced way to experience a new release because a lot of people have home theaters, and even if you don't, you can still experience the film to an extent, on a laptop or a phone. Um, but yeah, I saw a Jax Films tweet like a year ago that said he was joking. He's like, "No, honey, you don't understand. I have to see Tenet in theaters as Christopher Nolan intended, among a bunch of coughing strangers and crying babies." Like, that's basically what the theater experience is. People are on their phones all the time. Disease, not just COVID, but like people can get sick from just existing inside of space with other people. I mean, you can get sick on the subway. Like, the region of the country that I live in, we have it's more spaced out. And the reason that I comment on that, I actually, when I used to work as a production assistant for broadcasting, I was working on a commercial for a nondescript shoe company, and we had a DP come in from Brooklyn, and I was I was her driver. I picked her up from her hotel, and we were talking about. She was commenting on the fact that like everything here in where I live, which is not the Northeast, is just so spaced out. There's like, first off, a lot of people in major cities like New York, they don't learn to drive, and that obviously a lot of people outside of New York don't learn to drive either, but I mean, they don't really have a reason to. They have public transportation, whereas where I live, our public transportation is an absolute joke. And so she was just commenting on how, like, there's so many cars on the road, everything is so, spread out. And yeah, I really hadn't really considered that would be kind of stand out to somebody from another part of the country. Um, how do we get on this subject? Yes. Yeah. So just being in an enclosed space, like it's natural that, people would have issues with it. But I think largely like it is a trend that existed before that home media was becoming more frequently the place where a lot of big new releases, because the cost of like major VFX and stuff has also gone down. And so COVID accelerated that trend, but I'm fine with it because I kind of don't like movie theaters. I think they're overrated. Um, yeah, so Janice just pretty much said everything that I had said about they were on their way out before COVID. Theaters have to go the extra mile to survive. They absolutely do. 4D, anyone? Actually, no, that sounds miserable. Um, remember the 3D obsession with Avatar? I am old enough to remember when that was like a novel kind of phenomenon of like Avatar really. I guess it didn't popularize 3D. Maybe it did. I guess I don't remember it as well as I thought I did. But yeah, that trend died quickly. um, who is doing Star Trek 4 keeps changing to the point I don't even know if it's a real possibility. It's got a release date. I don't know who I don't know who is directing it at this point. I mean, it's still it's in flux. That's why I haven't been following it closely, is because it's been so many hectic behind the scenes changes. It's hard to keep up with it. Okay, we just add another nail to the theater's coffin. Yeah, I worked in music theater events. This is from Hippie Blue. Closed for over a year, so I retired. Funny you mentioned that. To be perfectly honest, one reason that my channel has taken off the way it has this year, and I feel like I might probably would have committed a similar amount of time to it if this hadn't been the case. But it was because all of the years that my channel has existed before, it has been effectively like a side thing for me. I was working other jobs, as I mentioned earlier. I worked in broadcasting, the television, film industry as a PA, and a grip, and the jobs just evaporated. There was a long period where that kind of work just wasn't around. And even then, I should have started doing YouTube full time even then, but I was waiting for them to come back, so I wasn't employed. Towards the end of 2020, it picked back up, and I started working those kind of gigs again, and I realized I did not like it at all. I mean, I didn't like it. So basically, I guess, what was it, like around April-ish is when I started doing like weekly uploads on this channel, and here we are. So now it consumes much of my time, but I would rather be doing absolutely nothing else but what I'm doing now. And so that's why I'm glad that you guys are here to support that, and that you are interested in my content and give me a reason to keep making regular YouTube videos every week. So, but that is all that is to say that COVID played a role in that happening. So, what would it have been like if COVID didn't happen? I kind of don't want to think about it, actually, because as much as I miss 2019, and I feel like as much as a lot of us miss 2019, doing what I'm doing right now is preferable to a lot of things I could be doing. The average TV has gotten so big and so good compared to even a decade ago. Everyone has a home cinema, effectively. Yeah, that's exactly right. Theater, much better proposal when competed with NTSC. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, there's so much customization, and the hardware has gotten better. Just as you outlined, streaming is ubiquitous. There's like, I mean, more content than could be consumed in a person's lifetime is released every year. Less than that, probably, right? Every month, every week. Who knows? I mean, it's exponential. Note that jojoba oil makes hair grow back. I'll see. I mean, basically, I had to have like some surgery done on the top of my head. Is basically why I've got a little bald spot. I changed my hairstyle because the hairstyle that I had previously, it was the one I had been wearing since I was in middle school, and I figured, I'm a tax-paying adult. It's time to make a change. So that's why I did what I did. But I mean, this side sweep thing that I've got going on now, I prefer it this way, frankly. Yeah. Will you make more Fringe videos? They were the reason I found your channel. Oh man, you break my heart when you say things like that, because I talked about this earlier. Like, I don't know if I can make more regular Fringe videos, because it is just, it's almost impossible to please the content ID, at this point. I do have more things I want to say about Fringe. I feel like many of them have been already said. So there's maybe like one or two extra things I want to say, but they're I mean, as you can probably imagine, like, I've been making a Fringe video like once a year for the past few years, and so I don't think it's going to be feasible, frankly, to make that more frequent. I'm sorry, but I'm glad that you've enjoyed the ones that I've I've released thus far. Has anyone looked at the I know I'm jumping around on chat. Has anyone looked at the box office returns for Dune yet? I haven't. I guess it's still. I know it probably blew out opening weekend. Dune box office. Let's see. Dune nabs 40.1 million at North American box office. Okay, but over what period of time? Halloween Kills is the second place, 14.5 million. Damn, son, that is a wide gap. Well, comparatively speaking. See, this is why everywhere I go to look at stuff like this up, they want me to disable my ad blocker. No, I don't want your site to get revenue. Now, I hopefully don't have ad block enabled for YouTube, but for my videos. But NBC News, no, I don't care if you make money. Too bad streaming revenues can't substitute for the biggest blockbusters like Dune. I'll really be bummed if we don't get a sequel. Yeah, I know they really want to, because I know that the film that they just released is, kind of like we're just getting started, and they want to make more. Villeneuve has been open about that, I believe. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it really sucks. It really does suck. I mean, it is a double-edged sword. What kind of is happening with film right now? I will say. I watched Blair Witch in the theater. Everyone loved it, but watching it at home with my daughter, we couldn't even sit through it. Too boring. Audience excitement can matter. That is another good point. I guess that really gets at the difference between different people. Like, I hate watching movies in public with others. Like, I want to watch something at home, either by myself, with my family, or with a significant other, perhaps. Like, I want to, or friends. Like, I don't like being in crowded theaters with a bunch of people, because I don't, like I said, too many issues arise if you have a bad audience, which can happen. You have no control over that. And why I hate to say this, but like, particularly when it comes to like young children, like, I know a lot of parents don't have a choice. They come to the movies often because they can't get a sitter. They need to keep their kid occupied if they're off work or whatever. Like I understand, but yeah, it's just not a great experience often. Darren says, "Hey Tyler, been watching for years. Keep up the good work." Thank you very much. I've been, yeah, it's funny to encounter people who have been watching my stuff for years, and people who are new, having similar levels of excitement about seeing what I have to say. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about the history of my channel several times on streams, and I won't do it again right now. But yeah, I just like I said, I am glad to be able to do this. Is this your full-time job? Effectively. Now, I do other things. I edit for other people. And yeah, so I'll do commission work. I'm not I'm not an artist who does commissions like drawings or anything, but like I'm not taking commissions right now, but like I have a person that I work with that I edit for, or clients, and but this is what occupies much of my time, and that's why revenue and super chats and patron pledges and memberships are important to help out the channel. So if you want to be like Springtime, if you want to be like Jeff, you should become a member or a patron. Links in the description. How much did HBO pay for Dune to release before cinema? Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious too because I know that they obviously had whatever contractual thing they worked out with Warner Brothers. I mean, it's a Time Warner company, and so Dune was released by Warner Brothers, right? So it makes sense. But they did that for what Justice League. I you can tell I'm not, and Wonder Woman. You can tell I'm not really big into the DC EU. But I'm curious. 500 million would be the break even point for Dune. That is a good point. Actually, I never did finish um, looking up. Dune debuts at 40 million at the box office. Yeah, I would be curious what the streaming revenues are from that as well. Yeah, so this is de facto my full time job. Oh my god. Jonas with the currency I don't recognize, 55 of them though. I appreciate it. Okay, says small donation. Small donation for the great Fringe videos and all the other great stuff, of course. I appreciate it. I am really glad that there are enough people who appreciate my Fringe content. Like, I yeah, I hate to say it. I just, I hate to be this way, but it is hard to see it becoming like any more of a regular thing on my channel than it is right now. That's just the truth. But I'm deeply appreciative of everybody who has, expressed their love for what I have done so far. And like I said, I'm not totally done, but this past experience with the Fringe videos that I have made recently, I mean, I'm sorry, just the view counts. I have to keep that in mind. They're drastically different. That doesn't mean I won't make more. It just means it's not going to be frequent. Swedish crowns. Yes. Okay. Thank you. This is the donation from Jonas. Yeah, Dune is a Warner Brothers production. Yeah. Odari says I enjoy watching at home. Me too. I'm an introvert too. That's another thing. I'm an introvert, and so I I really preferred watching stuff not in public or even with friends in a very controlled environment, like a living room, not a theater. I don't mind watching a movie in public as long as the public shut the hell up during the film. Yeah, exactly. Dune got a full day before the theatrical very recent change. Orange River is a place in South Africa. It is. I'll explain the significance behind my name in a minute. We got a $10 donation from Matthew, another one. Have you done a video on mixed race characters, hybrids? I assume you're talking about Deanna Troi and Alexander come to mind. Sorry, got some growling cats in the background. It's just horseplay. Deanna Troi and Alexander come to mind. I read a Star Trek novel with a mixed Bajoran Vulcan Betazoid human character. Might be interesting to explore compatibility. You know what? I think I just might do a hybrids video because it's a fascinating concept, is it not? I mean, first off, I'm gonna do a video about. I mean, I did a video about the Asari from Mass Effect, which you should check out if you haven't already. Their entire culture is centered around breeding with other species, but compatibility between different species. I mean, the way that Star Trek handles that is rather interesting because so many species are compatible with each other. So I have to look into that, and because I mean, it's something that you should expect to not work at all. And in fact, if you might remember early in the days of like Enterprise or whatever, a Vulcan and a human conceiving a child required medical intervention with T'Pol and Trip's baby that I think what didn't survive, right? And even still, so Orange River. The significance of the name is I like the color orange and I live next to a river. Swedish crowns, sorry, just 1/8 of a US dollar. That's perfectly fine. I still saw the 55 and I was like, "Oh my god!" But don't worry, any amount is appreciated. It's more than zero. I mean, my god. So I appreciate the donation. Could you define fringe culture? Well, the fringe fan base. There's multiple angles to this question. The fringe fan base is, I feel like it's quite small, but it seems like a lot of them like to congregate here, which is great. Um, but yeah, it seems like it's okay. Another thing, I have trouble with the content ID filters, and you know, some people might view that as like, oh, he only cares about money. No, I'm serious. Like you know, the the amount of time and effort that it takes to make a video is labor, right? So I'm being dead serious. Like I have to consider, like I can't have a video that I upload where it makes no money on this channel. I'm you know, like I'm running a business. The business is to entertain you all, and I deeply love it. But I can't have a video that Warner Brothers is going to come in and say you can't make money from this. I can't do it. And if that's going to happen more often with Fringe, because Warner Brothers is very strict about, you know, content ID, copyright, it's not something I can do on a regular basis. Yeah. And I deeply regret that, but it's just the case. Not sure if you covered it early or just joining the streams from Pops, but how did you feel about the Lower Decks Season 2 finale or Season 2 in general? Somebody finally asked that. That's interesting. Man, I feel like they save up all their best writing for some reason for like the last 2 episodes of every season. I've expressed my mixed feelings about Lower Decks in the past, but I mean, I feel like the comedy's hit or miss. I like I like some of the expansion of the lore and exploration of the lore that they do. But yeah, strong season finale. I quite enjoyed it, and I can't wait for season 3. I think that Lower Decks is my favorite of the new Trek series. That could change with Strange New Worlds depending on how good it is, but I feel like that opinion is shared by a lot of people. My Borg Observers comparison video is great. Thank you, Xavier. I thought so as well. I'm just trying to come up with a response, a requisite response to that. I mean, I know a lot of people really enjoyed that. I appreciate it. Like I referenced earlier, those kinds of comparison videos are just not doing well, though, is the thing. So that's just the reason I bring it up again is because I just, you know, the future of more stuff like that on my channel, I just have to keep that in consideration. I loved. Okay, let's see. We love hybrid videos. I want to do. Yeah, I want to do a video about the you know, hybrid species and hybrid beings in Star Trek, because, like I said, it's quite unique approach that they take to it. I watched Dune at Home. I'm glad I did. This is from Odari. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people feel that way. I loved Fringe. I loved Fringe as well, and have the whole series on Blu-ray. It's sad that it didn't have a bigger following. Another series that I loved kind of just petered out when it ended with Sliders. That is another interesting series to mention, Sliders with Scott Bakula. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to look into that show as well. Betazoid Vulcan mix would be an interesting combo. Yeah, that would. They had the mental powers, so to speak, alone would be an interesting mix. What is the backstory to the clip you always add with the phrase mycelial network? All right. Anybody who has any outstanding questions about that, I don't blame you for asking because it might seem weird out of context, but where do I need to go? All right, hold on a second. Get some stuff configured. I'm gonna show you where it comes from. It comes from a video that I made earlier this year about the series Alien Worlds on Netflix. It was a quasi documentary thing that it was made by just, I guess it was made in the UK, but it was basically a exploration of different scientific theories about what life might be like on other worlds. I gave the show like a 6 out of 10 overall, I think. I reviewed it, but let's see. I'm looking for the clip where it comes from. It comes from that video. All right, here it is. I'm going to show you guys. Okay, hold on. I have to get... Here it is. Oh my God. That's way too big. Let me get this configured. I'm going to show you where it comes from. I might have to do this on multiple streams, but that's okay. All right. Okay. Huh. It's not playing. Hold on. Let me add a new audio source. I have to add audio input capture. No, that's fine. Sorry, guys. I want to explain where this comes from, but I'm having to configure some stuff in OBS. Audio output capture.
Which
Yes. Okay.
feeds on the bodies of the dead predators.
You didn't need to say that because we can clearly see it.
And this is called the mycelium, and it connects all of the other mushrooms in this area.
Mycelium. Where have I heard that before?
Possibly the most extraordinary thing about this mycelial system, and they will also be connected to their neighbors via the same mycelial system.
The mycelial network is like
Mycelial network.
wild
That's
nerve.
the Star Trek reference. Could you guys hear that, by the way? The audio might have been pretty low on that. If not, I'll try to find a way to make it louder. That's where that comes from. What fictional planet would you love to visit? That's a great question. There's lots of really attractive planets in Star Trek. Or I guess fiction could mean anything. I don't know. I kind of want to go to some of the places in Mass Effect, like Ilium. As far as like a Star Trek planet that I'd like to visit. Some of the, I know there's lots of planets that have like are known for their, hey, probably Ryza, right? That are known for their natural beauty and their culture. Yeah. I got hooked on your channel from the Star Trek content. What are your thoughts on the Babylon 5 reboot that's coming? I'm intrigued. I have been meaning to make a video about Babylon 5 as well. I want to know if there's any like hard dates that have been established on like when it is coming back. I know it's hard to, state that like it's in development and whatnot, but I'd like to know maybe when to time a video release about it. Scott Bakula was not on Sliders. He was on Quantum Leap. That's right. I got them confused. But they're kind of similar, are they not? Lower Decks is my fave also. Yeah, favorite of the new shows because it plays into the tropes, but I think it does it well, and I think it does has good critiques of different different tropes in the franchise, and it's like the character interactions. Again, it's hit or miss. The comedy, the writing is hit or miss for me, and I have to. That's why I can't say the show is like necessarily better than some of the old shows that came before it, but it is my favorite of the new shows. And when it's funny, and when it lands, it lands. It really works. Jonas with another 55 Swedish crowns. Mycelial Network. Crohn's crowns. Yeah. I need to put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. I would want to go to Ryza or Earth of the 24th century. I want to live on Earth of the 24th century. I want to live there because, I mean, and I don't want to, I'd hate to call this person out, but I actually was talking to a friend of mine, and I was explaining the Star Trek universe to her, and I was explaining Earth's economy and this post-scarcity future or quasi-post-capitalist future, and she it may have been because I didn't do a good enough job of explaining it, which I'm sure you guys would probably think I would do a good job of explaining it, but she didn't quite take to it, and I kind of was put off by that. I'm kind of over dramatizing this a little bit, but I was kind of taken aback because like Star Trek is supposed to be like the future, and it's not. And there are ways in which it's demonstrated that it's not entirely utopian, but it's near utopian enough, and it's like a place where poverty and things have been, in greed and jealousy and hate and racism and crime and all that have been eliminated, or I guess poverty related crime. Who wouldn't want to live in that, but as many, and this is something that a lot of, and some of you may feel this way as well, like some I guess maybe perhaps right-leaning people might still be skeptical of that because it's so close to socialism, and it's they are concerned about, is the Federation actually like an authoritarian dictatorship? I think those kinds of theories, it's fine to entertain them. I know that people like Lore Reloaded have entertained those theories. My opinion on those theories is, as long as you clarify that it's just a thought exercise, I don't really care for those kinds of theories because it's supposed to be. I know people have different like levels of what they deem acceptable, like critiques of literature and fiction and analyses of fiction, and just because the author intends this to be one way doesn't mean it was supposed to be this way or should be taken this way just because something's supposed to be this way, blah blah blah. I know there's a variety of opinion on that, but Star Trek's future Earth is a place where they have eliminated a lot of the evils that mark society today. And I think it is fictional, and I personally do have my doubts as to whether or not we could really achieve something like that in real life, because they do tweak human nature to a significant degree to kind of downplay the amount of greed that exists in real life. So it is quite utopian, but it is in universe. It is a place where these things have been achieved, and I don't think that you have to invoke like is it like communist China? Like, no, just calm down. It's not a dictatorship. It's a democracy. We don't know everything about the inner workings of the Federation. We don't know everything about, it's not a military dictatorship. Starfleet is not mandatory service for people. That's not how it works. It is a quasi-socialist, post-capitalist, post-scarcity utopian society. And again, I don't know. I do have doubts as to whether that could be achieved in real life, but that's what it is. Is Star Trek Earth possible though? Yeah, that's kind of what I just got through. kind of saying like I don't know if it is possible in real life, but in the universe, in the fictional universe, it is supposed to be a place where these things have been achieved. Now that isn't to say that it's not fair. I mean, Deep Space Nine does an excellent job of like critically examining the Federation, because the Federation does do authoritarian things. The Federation does do reactionary things. We see this in Picard as well. The way that they treat artificial life forms is very reactionary. The fact that there's jingoistic and, the Romulans are our number one enemy. Like there are people in the Federation who are concerned with, kind of homeland security, and naturally so. I mean, that kind of stuff is going to exist in any society, but it's they critically examine it, but it's the purpose of it is to show challenges against the utopia and efforts to preserve their way of life. Now, some of the changes to everyday life or whatever that you see maybe in the wake of the Dominion War, I think that stuff is interesting. That kind of parallels what's going on in America right now, where politics is becoming more divisive, that kind of thing exists. And so I think it is interesting to have those kinds of parallels. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, think about it. Even in Discovery, in the 32nd century, what remained of the Federation, I mean, they weren't the bad guys at all. I mean, they believed in the mission of Starfleet and the Federation. Just times had changed. I think at least Earth is utopian Star Trek, and if you don't like that, you can live anywhere. Right. I'm drawn to the idea that everyone is set up to live their best life. There is nothing stopping anyone from living their dream. Yeah. Looking at how people behave today, I would say not a chance. Yeah, I might actually expound on that in a minute. I tend to agree with that to a pretty good extent. United Earth was shaped by World War III. It didn't get better until it got much worse. That is actually a very excellent point. By the way, I've got a video about World War III coming out later this year. You can check it out. It's going to be big. Keep in mind that there are still penal colonies in the 23rd century, so there is still crime and mental illness. Yeah, so the 23rd century Earth and 24th century Earth are actually distinct. So I would rather live in the 25th century Earth. Well, I don't know, probably 24th century Earth, but there are differences. So like they're still evolving in the 23rd century. They're roughly, well, not halfway. They're about 2/3 of the way between us and the 24th century. So like they're still they're rough around the edges, right? It's the wild, wild west, but like, it still loads better than what is going on today. And so that is important to point out. And Starfleet often does outsource. I mean, the Federation outsources, slave labor to the androids and the holograms. I mean, that stuff exists. It's not a perfect organization by any means. And in fact, that stuff actually is like despicable. And the fact that it's called out in the franchise is, again, that's just good. That's good critical analysis there. They do it in Voyager. They try to do it in Picard. They're not as successful with it, I think. But yeah, I mean, definitely on Earth though, like human beings are set up to live their best life. They seem to have some form of generous UBI, even though money doesn't exist anymore. You guys know my opinion on that. That's been basically retconned. Currency exists in Star Trek, in the Federation, but like they, crime and stuff have been heavily reduced. Poverty's been eliminated. Disease, hunger, want, war, like in Civil War, that kind of strife. But as people have pointed out, like there's still abusive parents. There's still people who experience tragedy. There's still people who don't know what exactly to do with their life, and then I let me put it this way: I would rather live on Star Trek's Earth than on a colony. There's so many things that could go wrong. At least even when Earth was attacked, like it still had sturdy defenses. If you live in a colony world, that is the Wild West, and there are things that can kill you. The crystalline entity, uh, viruses, other aliens from orbit. You can get enslaved. You can go crazy. You can turn into like what's the Turkana 4 where Tashiar grew up. By the way, every day, every time I watch episodes involving Tashiar, I think, man, God, it's just such a waste that they killed her off. Of course, it was Denise Crosby's wish, I believe, right, to leave the show. She just wasn't satisfied with the way her character was being written. They should have done a better job of writing her character, because she was one of the more interesting characters in the early first season of Next Generation, and they just got rid of her. Again, Denise Crosby's wishes, but yeah, that was a missed opportunity. I'm drawn to the idea that, okay, I've read that already. Star Trek is utopian. It's fiction, but fiction is a vessel used to explore ourselves and possibly what we want to achieve. That's a great point. So to counter what I had said earlier about it's fiction, we don't need to worry about the possibilities in real life. Actually, what I do believe to my core is that I do, like, science fiction is my favorite genre because it does this, quite consistently. It's commentary about, conditions that exist, in real life. It's commentary on the human condition, and it does show us like things to avoid, like dystopian realities, and things that we can maybe achieve, like utopian visions. Think about the impact that Star Trek has had on the world. Like, think about how many people, particularly people and women of color, have joined, the sciences because they saw a black woman on the bridge of the Enterprise. Think about all the just people in general who got into science because of Star Trek. Miguel Alcubierre created his Alcubierre drive, a faster than light concept that was directly inspired by Star Trek. All of the people who just entered the sciences just in general, who are doing even the more practical sciences because of Star Trek. And so I think we should try to get as close as we possibly can to Earth's quasi-utopian, state in Star Trek's 24th century. Even what they achieve in the 22nd century would be leaps and bounds beyond what we are experiencing now, even with things like Terra Prime and whatnot. But like, because that kind of stuff is going to exist in every society. But like, I think we should, like, I am, believe it or not, the past couple years have turned me from a universal basic income skeptic into a full-fledged supporter. Now, I have issues with Andrew Yang, but I think it was interesting that he, kind of helped mainstream that idea of UBI. So like something like UBI, and that wouldn't be a panacea by any means, but that would be a step towards helping address poverty. And then just so many other things. We should try to strive for it. I do question the concept of humans, human nature changing, giving up like base, greed and competition, competitiveness, and whatever. That kind of stuff is hardwired into us. So I think something more like Mass Effect could be possible. It's a universe that is, it's somewhat like Star Trek. It's very distinct from Star Trek in other ways, but it's cool, and it does seem like a better place to live than real life right now. The post-scarcity does the legwork of making Earth near utopian, exactly. modern economic ideas do not apply, and how humans would react with the ability to get almost whatever they want is interesting. Yeah, resource-based economy, post-scarcity, these are things that are not achievable right now, which is why I, like, politically, like, in terms of, like, real life, I am, I'm not really big on the whole, overthrow the entire economic system and put something else in place. Like, no, I am more of a reformist in that respect. However, that is in the context of the near term. Long term, like for our species, the future of our species, like I've said before, I think it's in the best interest of our species that we do colonize the universe. I think it is also in the best interest of our species that we do transition away from capitalism and towards a resource-based economy. But I think the technology is not there yet. I mean, we have a lot of artificial scarcity here on Earth. Like, we could end world hunger. There is massive wealth and income inequality that exists right now. We're not quite to replicators, though. Like, that's really the big selling point, That's why it takes place 400 years, 300 years in the future. But yeah, the post-scarcity, resource-based economy, like I do think we are going to have to change our economic system one day, and exploring those ideas is going to be interesting, and I hope I live to see at least the beginnings of it, because that would be really cool. By really cool, I also mean we're going to have to do it out of necessity because the planet is on fire, but it still would be really neat just to see the beginnings of that. That would give me a little glimmer of hope to see that we actually can kind of, get our act together a little bit as a species. I guess we can argue that it was thanks to the Vulcans that made Earth what it is by the 24th century. Yeah, I think that's also another really important thing to not forget. So I've always wondered, of course, there was the idea in Enterprise that the Vulcans held back the warp program. Yes and no. I mean, humans, they didn't stop humans from, this is kind of a misconception, I suppose, they didn't stop humans from developing warp tech as much as humans were capable of. Like the speed, and the mirror universe technology proves this, the speed with which they got from warp 1 to warp 5 over the span of a century, or less than a century, like 80, 90 years, that it was the natural pace that humanity was going to develop. Obviously the Vulcans played a role, but like the main thing that the Vulcans did in terms of holding Earth's warp program back was not sharing already more advanced technologies and theories with humanity. So they held us back thing, in a manner of speaking. I also find it obviously the fact that we're not alone in the universe, in the Star Trek universe, that was a wake-up call. Like, we had just come off of World War III, so now that also was another major factor in humanity, I would imagine, probably, ending human to human racism and sectarianism, and United Earth kind of becoming part of that. Like, if first contact never occurred, I would be curious if something like United Earth were possible, or it would be more authoritarian. I wonder if I'm curious if they might explore something along those lines in Picard season 2, but like, yeah, like the Vulcans opened our eyes to a lot of things. And we're now able to turn our prejudices outward, like Miles O'Brien with the Cardis. Those damn Cardassians. And even Kirk with the Klingons. Klingon bastards killed my son. Okay, it wasn't the entire race, James, that did that. So like that kind of thing still exists. That's 23rd and 24th century. So I always wondered if the Vulcans helped us kind of reverse climate change too, because think about all of the places that are supposed to be underwater by the year 2100, and we don't see that in Enterprise. Like, we see that Florida hasn't been submerged, and Earth, the land masses retain their familiar shapes. Like, some kind of massive mass scale geoengineering projects had to have gotten going, and I wouldn't be terribly surprised if the Vulcans were involved in that. They're like, God, what are these idiots doing with this carbon emissions? We need to we can at least help them get their act together in that respect. Yeah, just remember that. Hold on a second. I skipped a few chats. I want to live in the 21st century, Star Trek on Earth, or the Bill and Ted future. So money can't buy you an election win. Well, sometimes it can, sometimes it can't. Many of the original Star Trek tech actually came through. Yeah, I mean, that Star Trek did actually inspire a lot of real-world technological advances, which I think is insanely cool. Just remember that this is the beauty of sci-fi. You can create any type of world you want when the real world is so disappointing. That is absolutely the case. Matthew Phillips, I heard Denise Crosby once auditioned for Deanna Troi and Marina Sirtis for Tasha Yar. Any truth to that, or just a silly fanfic I conjured up? I actually kind of want to find out if that is true. That is interesting. That happened. That happened. That happened in real life. Yes, you didn't make that up. That actually is a thing. I didn't know that. Maybe I might have heard it before, but yeah, that actually is real. The mushroom cultive, Paul Stamets and J.S. Chilton. I must have had a stroke when I was reading that, because I am mycelial network. Mycelium Running. This book is a manual for the mycological rescue of the planet, setting the stage for the myco-restoration revolution. Mycelium Running unveils new methods for growing mushrooms. It's funny, the people make fun of the mushroom drive, the spore drive of the mycelial network and Discovery. There have been articles, kind of outlining, some of the merits behind that kind of technology. I actually was reading last night. I do think it is maybe somewhat contrived that they pulled the whole, oh, now it's classified and we're destroying any information about it, at the end of season 2. Yeah, I mean, that is one issue with prequels. It's not just Discovery. It's prequels in general that set up things that you would think, shouldn't this be talked about in later series? I don't know. So that's not a Discovery critique. That's really a prequel critique. That's why telling stories in chronological order is kind of maybe the better way to go. Let's see. I literally play the Atari game system in my lifetime. Yeah, you're talking to somebody like I could even comment on like this may sound, this will sound kind of, like child's play to some people who have been around for longer, but like, I remember, I obviously all of us remember before YouTube existed, before you could share HD video. I remember if you wanted somebody to be able to watch something and it didn't compress it in an email, you had to physically make them a DVD. I remember Windows XP, was like the peak of operating systems. Like tech has come a long way. Think about life before smartphones, how that's changed. Think about life before streaming and how that's changed everything about the world. It is exponential, and Star Trek's impact on that is really something to behold. I have a video that I made with my buddy Lewis several years ago. I say several, 4 years ago. That's 4 years ago is several for me, because God, that seems like a long time ago. But like, about the impact that Star Trek had on like real world technology and culture. It's called "What If Star Trek Never Existed." It's deep in my catalog. You can go back and watch it if you want. It is an old video, so it's, it's not of the same caliber quality as my new stuff, but yeah. Star Trek economy is not understandable because of technological advancement, i.e. the replicator. Yeah, I mean, I agree that technologies will have to be invented for something like it to exist, yes. The ugly truth is that if aliens did visit Earth, they would only make themselves known to the population because they know they could conquer and enslave us. I know a lot of people do share that opinion, and it is possible. I know Stephen Hawking, I think, expressed that concern. He said if aliens contacted us, that it would be similar to European contact with the Native Americans. I've seen there's a lot of reason to believe that is not the case. There's a lot of reason to believe that a first contact between humans and an alien species actually would be peaceful, because if a species has the capability to travel between star systems, I mean, in real life, interstellar travel, first off, it's physically impossible based on our current understandings, but if we can perfect something like the Alcubierre drive, I say physically impossible, faster than light travel. Interstellar travel is not physically impossible. It's just very difficult. But if we, even if they could travel across, the universe, like if they had that capability, most species who have that capability would have advanced to a state to where they might still consider us like ants, but they wouldn't necessarily like actively seek out to harm us. They wouldn't be like going around looking for resources. This is why there's a conspiracy theory, the ancient aliens conspiracy theory about all these, monuments or whatever, like the pyramids that were built by aliens because for some reason non-white peoples in the past couldn't have built them by themselves. That's impossible. So ancient aliens, helped build these structures, and in the part of the conspiracy theory, part of the mythology is this race called the Anunnaki, which is like referenced in Sumerian mythology, a race of beings that came to Earth thousands of years ago looking for gold, and they enslaved humans because they wanted our gold. Yeah, like that's on the face of it. Anybody who believes that, reconsider. There are, if you have the capability to travel across light years, looking for gold is not something that you would be doing. You would have lots of, you would have resources at your disposal in, your own system that could help facilitate that. So, that's why the whole narrative of like, hostile aliens, it is possible, but it's maybe not even really the most likely thing. In fact, actually, most alien life that we would encounter would probably be cybernetic, because you have to think about the element of time. Like, because interstellar travel in real life is so difficult, species would tend to kind of like develop inwardly. They would develop smaller scales of the universe instead of spreading out. And when they do eventually spread out to the cosmos, they will have advanced to such a point to where they would be probably post-biological, post-organic. Not even necessarily like the Borg. They would, like the Borg would be antiquated compared to what I'm talking about. This is something that scientists have been seriously discussing for a long time. Like they would be like actual machines. I think it's possible that the nuclear war and World War III also would reverse the effects. Yeah, nuclear winter. That's another good point. Nuclear winter would have an impact on the whole climate change thing. That's not a recommendation, by the way. But just factually, like, yeah, that would happen. My research suggests that would happen. How can they improve the Discovery show? Well, I think season 3 was a big step up from the previous 2 seasons. I think that the character of Michael Burnham becoming captain is basically like the most natural progression of the show. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the character. I have some issues with the character as well. I have issues with Discovery, but many of them are very intricate, kind of technical criticisms about the way it goes about, like with the editing and the pacing and everything. Like I don't know. I've had the feeling I'm going to have to make a video about my criticisms of Discovery one day, but I don't do reviews anymore. But anyway, from a character standpoint, like the experiment that they tried having her be the main character but not the captain, I would say it had mixed results. So I think they're on a good track, actually. Yeah. What is my opinion of Beyond? I like it. I like Beyond. I think it's one of the. I think it's the best of the new films. I think it's better than many of the previous films that came before it. It's basically like a original series adventure, like a Enterprise crew adventure in space as a movie, and I think that's what makes it perfect. And by perfect, I don't mean it's a perfect film, not at all, but perfect for a Star Trek film. Guinan was the real counselor on The Next Generation. in a lot of ways, yes. I mean, everything that came out of that woman's mouth was sage advice. Discovery could have been set after Voyager and could play out the same, and no one would object to any canon discrepancy. Well, yes, that is true. And I actually do think that we have too many prequels. I think setting it before the original series, I do agree that was not necessarily the best decision. What I don't agree with is the assertion. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Some people do believe this strongly. I disagree with the assertion that the visual effects and the way like the production design makes it inconsistent with the original series. I'm not a visual literalist. I think anybody who is a visual literalist and thinks that like the fact that, oh my God, the consoles don't have physical buttons and they're using holograms instead of view screens, that stuff is not important. That stuff is not important in storytelling. And the fact that they even address it at all would be a mistake, like they do in season 2 of Discovery. Like, yeah, the spore drive was kind of weird, and like I said earlier, it was kind of forced, that the way that they handled like making it classified, whatever. But I you got to understand, like, this is a show that is being made in the late 2010s, early 2020s. It's not going to look like a show that was made in the 1960s, and that's okay. It doesn't need to. It shouldn't. It would look terribly out of place if it did. Now, as for something like Star Trek Continues, that's different because, first off, that's a fan series. Secondly, that's a tribute to the original series that's supposed to be a continuation of Kirk's 5-year mission, recreating the lighting and everything. That was a stylistic choice. That, a modern continuation of the franchise mainline series does not need to do that at all. It would look horribly out of place. It's different styles, different purposes. I think the replicators on Discovery are overloaded from tissue replication from the crying that goes on. They do a lot of crying. They do a lot of one criticism. And some people don't agree with this. Some people will know exactly what I'm talking about. But like, it is melodramatic, and it's a different kind of Star Trek show. And not every Star Trek show needs to be the same formula. If it were, that would be incredibly boring. That actually is one of the things that did in Voyager, was they basically made a TNG clone. Even though that show had so much potential, it just squandered the hell out of it. Now I like a lot of what Voyager did. In fact, Death Wish, I all right, reveal this. I have a Q video coming next month. The fanfare begins. So Death Wish was an episode that I researched heavily, so that's classic like Star Trek. They do a great job of doing the whole moral ethical implications, moral decisions, and quandaries and whatnot. But that it was formulaic, and so Discovery being a little different, it was experimental. I don't blame them for trying to do that, but it is quite melodramatic. There's a lot of there's lots of reaction shots with the swelling music and everything. Not my cup of tea. Yeah. And I I say that I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch this Discovery season 4. I kind of want to see. I want to see what direction they take it. I was very intrigued with season 3, and I think I had some disappointments with it, but I think a lot of what it tried to do, I appreciated, and I thought was quite fun. I overall, I would say I liked it. Maybe not the most satisfying conclusion, but there's lots of great ideas there. Let's see. The best way to improve Discovery would be to simply get better writers. I don't believe that they have to get legacy next gen writers, but just better writers in general. I've talked about the writing in Lower Decks. I think it can be hit or miss. I had lots of issues with Picard. Discovery, my main issues with it was I didn't like some of the directions that they were taking the universe. I didn't like some of the directions they were taking. I don't think we needed another Klingon War story arc. It was kind of played out. The whole thing with Control and another AI apocalypse, which they basically repeated in Picard, that trope is overplayed. I didn't really care for it. I didn't care for the Section 31 stuff. My criticism is not so much that it has shitty writing or anything, although it's certainly not my favorite Star Trek by any means. I'd rank it quite low among my series. I think there's a lot of things it did right, but it's. I understand. I kind of sympathize with people who say that it didn't feel like Star Trek. There's certain episodes of Discovery that do feel like Star Trek. I don't think that where I would draw the line is anybody who tries to say it's not canon. That's just first off, it's factually inaccurate. You don't have to like it. It is canon. Secondly, I just see those kinds of comments and calling it SJW Trek, calling it woke Trek. This is my least of my problems with Discovery is anything that has to do with social liberalism. In fact, I actually think it's like Enterprise. It has kind of a neoconservative foreign policy bias. That's all I'll say about that. I just didn't agree with some of the decisions that they made, narratively speaking. Yeah. From a writing standpoint, with the Spore Drive, did you need it? I don't think so. Visuals always will be updated. So the Spore Drive, again, I don't blame them for trying to come up with a unique technology. It did give a tactical advantage in the war with the Klingons. I think that, and some of the one-off episodes that they did with it, New Eden episode, like that was only possible because they jumped 50,000 light years. I would rather they didn't do it. Yes, is what I've been saying. Again, the fact that they made it classified, like they basically had to do that, was it kind of ham-fisted? Sure. I like some of the characters though. I do think another weakness of Discovery is that it doesn't give as much attention to some of the crew, like the comms officer and the tactical officer, and we barely know anything about OO's background. Even Detmer has had very little characterization. It's basically the Michael Burnham show, and I think that, and of course, I don't know how anybody could dislike Saru, but like the fact that it is the Michael Burnham show and the George O show, I think it's been like I said, it's been an experiment that has had mixed results. Like I think that really what they're doing, they're basically kind of reworking it so it becomes more closer to what Star Trek has always been. And I think that is one reason that I think a lot of people thought that Star Trek that season 3 was better received, but Michael being the captain, I think makes a lot of sense. That's basically, if she's the protagonist, I think that's kind of been the most natural progression for her. I didn't like anything they did with the Mirror Universe. By the way, that might come as a certain shock since I just got through doing 3 Mirror Universe videos. I actually don't really care for the Mirror Universe like at all. I think it's kind of dumb, but I think it's dumb and interesting. Like I think I think some of the ways that Discovery explores it, making it the Terran Empire more like a, basically like a fascist counterpart to the United Federation of Planets. That's not new, but they kind of explored it in a more serious fashion. But I don't like the narrative inclusion of it. The fact that Lorca was from the Mirror Universe, I don't think that was necessary. I think it would have been more interesting. He was actually from the Prime Universe. The Red Angel stuff, I didn't really care for. Yeah, but I think there were just a lot of choices that they made that I didn't really care for. At this point, I will watch Discovery with the same morbid curiosity people look at car wrecks. It explores some interesting ideas. There are individual episodes that I like. I liked seeing Pike and number one, but like they go to some interesting places. I mean, here's what I would say. Season 3, I mean, just don't start with season 3. I would catch up with the whole series. You can binge it. It's like 13 episodes per season, but like binging it and I think getting caught up on it just to get a wider perspective of what the directions that they could take the universe. Like, I think it is a mistake to make every show formulaic. In fact, Deep Space Nine actually kind of broke the mold a little bit in that respect. But yeah, it's a different kind of Star Trek show, is what I'll say. Very upset with Picard. What the hell was that? Yeah, it's mellowed somewhat negatively in my mind. Like I really did not like the fact that they just basically kind of dropped the Romulan, plot line. I didn't really care for the whole AI apocalypse thing. I didn't really care. Yeah, I just think that they dropped some thread. The fact that the Borg were at all involved was also, it almost went nowhere. Not really the biggest fan of what they did with Seven of Nine's character either. Um, yeah, and Picard seemed to kind of take a back seat in his own show. So yeah, it was not very well handled. Hello, Orange River. This is from Man in the Moon. Hello. I actually, let's see. Picard had the same tone as the first season of The Leftovers, which made it hard for diehard fans to get behind. I think the next season tone will be different. I hope so. I am very curious with how they're gonna what direction they're gonna take it. I actually screamed at my TV when the doctor convinced Michael was better suited to do something he had personal experience in. Man, and see, I even like Culber as a character, but yeah, and that actually was my favorite episode of the show. The one I'm thinking you're talking about, Forget Me Not. I think the characters of Adira and Gray were particularly fascinating. Everything they've done with the Trill has been really interesting. Yeah, I like those characters. I like Saru. I like Culber. I like Michael better now that she actually has the chance to emote. Sonequa Martin Green, she has played the part well for what the character is. I think it's starting to find its footing. It's getting there. It's been rocky, but it's it's still getting there. I'll give Strange New Worlds a try as well. What do you think of the TNG reboot, The Orville? Well, I've talked about this before. The Orville, for me, I like it. I think that it is quite derivative of TNG. Seth MacFarlane's humor is very hit or miss for me. I think the second season was better than the first, although I think the first season had some interesting storylines, particularly the third episode. Anybody who's seen that knows exactly what I'm talking about. The second season having a little bit more of a serious tone where they get to explore different serious themes, that was better to me. Again, it's still quite derivative. I don't know. I think they if they get a chance to just with season 3 just kind of wrap it up, I think that would be okay. Like it's not groundbreaking. Subraxis is here. Kind of late though. That's okay. Their words, not mine. I'm getting hoarse, man. I think I'm actually going to probably wrap this up in like the next half hour. Although it still seems like traffic's pretty steady, but why is it always the entire universe has to be at stake? Yeah, that's another criticism I have with like Discovery. All sentient life is going to be wiped out by Control, or with Picard, all sentient life is going to be wiped out by this other artificial intelligence. And by the way, Star Trek Picard season 1, basically Mass Effect. That's not a complete one-to-one, analog, but like very similar. And that's actually kind of okay that Mass Effect is inspiring new Star Trek. Like I like Mass Effect, but I mean, I don't like these AI apocalypse storylines. It's overplayed. What other science fiction series do you recommend? Well, I recommend Fringe. Everybody knows that. I like Fringe quite a bit. If you were into video games, I really have just fallen in love with Mass Effect, the Mass Effect universe. It's quite expansive. There's a lot you can do with it. It's very customizable, personal experience. Other sci-fi shows. There's quite a few shows that were like on network television for like a season and then just went away. I don't know if I would necessarily say that they were like top caliber or anything. I need to personally. I need to really watch more sci-fi so I can have some more well-rounded, content on my channel. As far as movies, I would recommend Arrival. I think Arrival was excellent. Fantastic Planet, if you want something a little more trippy. I've got videos about that. Babylon 5, The Expanse, and New Battlestar Galactica are my top 3. Yeah, I need to get caught up on those because I've heard nothing but good things about them. Those would make for great videos on this channel. I can't wait for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I think it will be the Mandalorian of Star Trek, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it as well. I think it's going to be a love letter to the fans because people responded so well to Pike's appearance in Discovery. I'm really interested to see what they do with it. Why can species such as Klingons speak in Klingon when through the universal translator we hear them speak English, or are they actually speaking English? That's a good question. I think the universal translator, in my view, has got to have some kind of way to know the speaker's intent when they are speaking. It's got to read brainwaves. I mean, the real answer is it's a magical device and a narrative. It works at the speed of plot. But like in universe, like I could imagine it sort of maybe interfacing with a person's actual like brainwaves and understanding their intent. I'm very excited for the Babylon 5 remake. I'd like to see when it's coming out. I know I guess sometime next year maybe. Careful, the last lever to Star Trek fans was These Are the Voyages. Oh God, you're right. We all know how that turned out. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic for it. Have you never heard Shakespeare in the original Klingon? That's Star Trek 6 is a great movie. Nicholas Meyer has done some of the best work, I think, for the Star Trek franchise. Directed Wrath of Khan, co-wrote the second act of The Voyage Home, directed Star Trek 6. The man's a legend. And the original series films are just, there's nothing like them. Cybraxis, regarding the AI threats, I think it's sort of inevitable. Tyler promoted Life Beyond series from Melody Sheep, and he speculates that everything leads to the development of inorganic life. That's a good point. Cybraxis is throwing my own criticism back in my face, and I have to respond to it. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. So I don't disagree. Basically, I'm kind of tired of it's basically become a trope, and Discovery and Picard took themselves, like tonally, they took themselves so seriously that they still played into the trope, and it was off-putting to me. I don't think I'm alone in this. I agree from a stand. Of course, I just got through talking about earlier how AI will be like, basically like is like the endpoint of evolution, likely for a lot of species out in the universe. First off, there's no guarantee that it's going to be malicious AI. That's certainly not guaranteed. Secondly, I don't. Yeah, like again, just brings me back to my thing of I don't think that having that threat. Now, what would be interesting if I think maybe having a conclusion of the Borg grand Borg arc that started with when they were introduced. I mean, kind of having a resolution to, what happens to them in the future. Like, I think it's clear by the 32nd century that they're probably not a threat anymore, right? They're basically like, it's, small potatoes, child's play, as they say. And how did they get to that point? That's something I'd like to see. Do you think we will get classic format Star Trek again? Well, they're kind of trying to do that a little bit. I mean, if you mean episodic, that's what Strange New Worlds is going to be, more so. Even if serialized content like Lower Decks, like I said, it's a different kind of Star Trek show. It plays into the tropes in a humorous way, but I think often it does it quite well. It's probably the most Star Trek of the new Star Trek shows that are around, and on purpose. I actually, again, I liked a lot of what Discovery Season 3 did with the universe. Still not my favorite, but I think people kind of give it a little bit of a hard time, even though I just got through outlining my issues with the first 2 seasons. My God. I'm a bit apprehensive about Babylon 5 reboot, at least. JMS is helming it. Straczynski, we'll see. We'll see. He's basically he is basically writing it from the ground up, as Janice has just said. It will literally break some hearts if there is only one sentient instance of AI and it is a fluke. Yeah, I mean, that's also true. I mean, here's the thing. What would actually be better is to show post-human AIs that are, in areas of space that haven't been explored yet. That's kind of what was going on with the tentacle things in Picard. They're from an alternate dimension. Again, some of the ideas that they explored, it was really more the execution that I had issues with. Just, dropping plot lines here and there. Like I said, they really didn't do much anything with Romulan refugee crisis. That was what I was more interested in. The Borg were barely relevant to the story. It's really about the execution, I think, is really the main, moral of the story. But I think that what I would be more interested in is seeing them kind of dealing with more godlike beings. Bring that back. I mean, the original series and basically every series. I don't know if they've really done that so much in Discovery, but basically every other series has at least one godlike being, and I guess Picard, but Q counts, of course. I'd like to see them go further into future beyond even when Discovery takes place, like deeper into the 4th millennium. Like, how does the Federation unite every star system in the galaxy under its banner? Is it even possible to do that? Is that even what it should do? What are the other challenges? So that's why I'm glad that Discovery actually did jump into the future and is going to explore ideas unrestrained. It's breaking new ground, and that's where it belongs, I think. I think a lot of people would agree with that. This is from Omitted. I was in my teens when I watched Babylon 5 for the first time, so I doubt anything can replace it emotionally for me. That's probably how a lot of people are going to feel. Yeah. Your opinion on the Romulan sisterhood of Fail who can't tell a lie. The Zotvash and well, actually that was the boogeyman, but the Quat Malat. No, that's something else. That's the Vulcan trial. What is it? I'm blanking on what it's called. Anyway, I thought that stuff was interesting, but they just really dropped it. I do like Discovery very much, as from Subraxis, but one of my issues with the show has been that it seriously needs more slower bottle episodes. I don't know why they feel the need to rush so much since it's not on network TV. Yeah, I mean, it basically, I guess, is really just the kind of streaming culture we're living in right now. With everything has to be serialized. That's why I'm glad that Star Trek Strange New Worlds is going to be more episodic. And again, that doesn't mean you can't have plot threads that run through, from episode to episode. But yeah, I think one thing we've learned today is that as Star Trek fans, many of us really just do like the formula. And that's okay. I think Discovery trying to do something different, I can't blame them for it. I can't blame them for trying to take a risk, for trying to do something different. I just don't think it really worked that well. But again, I think some of the criticisms of Discovery are incredibly hyperbolic, and it is low on my totem pole of Star Trek shows. I just think that, all right, I just think that it's it's really about the execution. All right. Let's yeah. Okay. Co-op Milat. Yeah, that's what I like that. I like the inclusion of it. I think it was interesting. I just think they didn't do enough with it. Some of the things that bugged me about Picard was that how are the Romulans basically refugees, but somehow they have a massive fleet of starships? Well, I mean, I think that it's demonstrated that probably much of their fleet was just taken out by the supernova, and I think it's the supernova being artificial in nature is a theory that I have held for a long time. But I wish they explored that more so we could get answers to that. I mean, that's why Picard resigned over Starfleet. It would have been more narratively interesting, I think, if they just made that what the season was. That doesn't mean they couldn't explore other things, but it just was introduced and then it went nowhere. That's my issue with it. Also about Picard, it's not so much that the Federation was reactionary towards the synth attack that bothered me, because that actually is in line with how they would have behaved based on their behaviors and episodes like The Measure of a Man, and also everything we know about their treatment of holograms. But I don't know, just the specific way they went about it just kind of didn't sit well with me. It's weird that the Federation are worried about AI after the Borg let them have it. So what's next? Hologram Wars, the Doctor from Voyager starts a revolution, just saying. I mean, frankly, I actually think that would be kind of cool. A hologram civil rights movement. They talk about it in various novels, and I think they kind of touch on that in Star Trek Online a little bit. Bring back Robert Picardo. I would love to see that. In fact, that actually is kind of something I've incorporated for quite a while into like my my headcanon, so to speak, about the early 25th century of the Star Trek timeline is them kind of dealing with their treatment of holograms. Like, I want to see that openly explored. When Elnor said that they take hopeless causes, my friend dubbed them the Sisterhood of Fail. I see. Robert Picardo's YouTube channel is hilarious, by the way. Damn, I didn't know he had a YouTube channel. I've got to go look at that quite soon. Like, man, that dude is funny. I just know that just in general. Like, that's really neat. I absolutely have no problem with serialization. I've totally loved the Xindi story arc from Enterprise, among others. I did too. I actually like the Xindi story arc. Just thought that not an episode on Discovery of Picard had to be super important, epic spectacle. Yeah, and everything being a super important, epic spectacle in every single episode is also a issue that I share. Lazy writing. They started with really interesting ideas, but they never followed through with them. What happened to all that Borg take the Romulans harvested? That is a criticism that I totally agree with. Those are my feelings exactly. And they bring back Andy Dick as the young EMH. And of course they kill off Hugh, which kind of made me sad. And then Icheb's very graphic, violent death was also unnecessary. Red Letter Media has a conspiracy theory about why they did it that way that I thought was kind of funny. I won't get into it. But yeah, seeing Hugh back was interesting. Yeah, I've never, of course, many of you probably remember last year I made a review of Picard, but I kind of took it down because, like, first off, my feelings on it have changed. I've kind of actually viewed some things about it more negatively over time. But even besides that, like, also, those of you who watched it, there's another reason I took it down that I won't get into, but like a tertiary reason I took it down is because I didn't really, I mean, anytime I review something, it's going to be like, okay, it's going to get massive dislikes. People are going to either agree with it or they're not. And this is a conversation I've had with friends of mine. Like, that's kind of an issue with review content on YouTube. I mean, it's one person's opinion. It's my opinion. Not everybody's going to agree with it, and it just leads to infighting. So that's why I don't do reviews anymore. Now, that's different, I think, from some of the theories I propose in my video essays, because that's part of scientific analysis. And there's ways you can scientifically analyze and critically analyze a piece of media. That's kind of what media literacy is. That's kind of what a degree in communications. I have a bachelor's degree in communications and a lot of student loan debt along with it. But that's kind of, one purpose is, to kind of be able to critically analyze media. Yeah, that's the YouTube is not the place for that kind of stuff for me, I think. And review channels who do it on a regular basis, I don't know how they do it. I do. Their fan bases are purely tailored to their tastes, the creator's tastes, and I would not even dare to start even considering trying to curate my audience to match my tastes in media. How boring is that? Like, that's why I don't do reviews. Really enjoying your deep videos, my man. Orange River Army Rise Up. That is what this is, I guess, the Orange River Army. What am I going to call my fan base, my audience? I guess Orange River Army is, until we get come up with something different. That's as good as any. I appreciate it. Hugh's death was so pointless. Yeah. How about Lieutenant Commander Naomi Wildman in charge of Ensign Kim? Man, poor poor Harry Kim didn't get promoted once. Okay, this will be fan service, but like on a future Star Trek show, they just need to show Captain Harry Kim just to establish that yes, he has been promoted. Riverites. I don't know. That sounds like a skin infection. Sounds like something that you get. Sounds like chafing. Did you like Red Letter Media's Mike's pitch for Star Trek Galaxy? Yeah, I did. I don't know if first off, I know exactly why that's not the kind of Star Trek show that would be produced by Viacom in the modern day. But one aspect, I don't know, I did like it. And one aspect of Picard that bothered me is where the hell is LeVar Burton? I think it would have been cool, and they don't have to get the whole Next Generation cast together, but Mike's pitch was pretty solid. Yeah. It sounds like a cult. Yeah, Riverites. We don't need it to sound like a cult. Borg Queen 7 was cool for a second. Yeah. I liked her being there. You and Lore Reloaded are my favorite Trek lore channels, and let's not forget Super Salty Trekker, all shows on Trek history and lore. I keep forgetting to check out that person. I know. Between my monthly streams, I do apologize. I tend to kind of lose some of the suggestions that I'm keeping track of the video suggestions, but checking out the other channels. I'll come back to that. Fleet Admiral Harry Kim. Yes, Fleet Admiral Harry Kim. Promote the hell out of that, man. Orange is the new Trek. Yeah, it's funny. Orange is not even really a color you'd associate with the with Star Trek production design, but yeah, as you can see, the text on my screen is in the LCARS font. I'm caught up on chat. Yeah, I don't know. We'll let it develop organically. The name for this audience, Rear Admiral Kim. Yeah. All right. Well, I think I do want to kind of stick to my initial wish to kind of wrap this up within the next 10 minutes because I'm getting hoarse and I'm hungry. This has been a great chat. I hate to end at this point since it seems like the traffic has been pretty steady, but I feel like 3 hours has been a pretty good length for some of these streams. So we'll let some last final questions come in, and I will say this: discussions that I've had with other people, fellow YouTubers, I think I should start streaming weekly. That was one a big secret that I had been saving up, and I was going to start doing it in January. We'll see if I do it before I start doing it before, because yeah, I think you all would probably appreciate that too if I did do it weekly. Great work. Thank you very much for the thought-provoking content. Thank you very much for saying that. I hope you guys love my ghosts video coming in not on Halloween, although it would be funny if I did release it on Halloween, but this Friday as usual. Janeway would change the timeline again if Harry made Admiral. Have a great meal. Enjoy Picardo's Technobabble. Al fresco. Yeah, I need to check out Picardo's channel. I didn't know he had one. That sounds really, really funny. This is great. You should do more in the future. Yeah, it's, I was going to. Hold on, let me show you if I can show this. Actually, I don't want to reveal the title just yet, but I was going to edit a video while I was streaming, and you guys have been keeping me busy. I guess that I can see if that will happen every week. Would you guys tune in every Monday? I think Sub Rosa is the worst of the worst. Well, yeah, but it's great fodder for a video. Thanks for keeping me up until 3 a.m. That's what being on YouTube is, isn't it? It is watching somebody stream until 3 a.m. Would you watch if I did it every week? I know you would, but would all of you do it? I know that is one way to build up a more regular following. Crusher getting down with the Space Ghost. Odari says they would watch me every week. It's almost 1 a.m. here in London, UK. Yeah, I still think this is probably going to be like the best time for me to stream. I know that probably a logical place to time to do it would be like Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, but I don't know. I'll think about it. Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like the weekends might get a little too crowded. I'd be competing with with everybody else. As a disciple of the Orange Riverites, yes. Well, to fill the gap, it's 2 a.m. here, Riverites around the world. Would you watch me until the wee hours of the morning? Because it seems like you're doing that now. I don't know when I'll start this, man. There's a lot of games I want to play, so I could probably look into that. Yeah, I watched every video and even binged all your vids when first found my channel. Thank you, Chauncey. Thank you very much. You binged all of my videos. You watched all of my videos. All of them. Wow. So you're a pro. That's what they call a pro gamer move. Riverites Monday Mass. I guess this is becoming a thing. Calling yourselves Riverites. Somebody, TS Penguin, apologized for coming up with that. Well, if it's going to catch on, it's not even really under my control now, is it? We're calling ourselves Riverites, or you're calling yourselves Riverites. You can do that. And just let the record show my thoughts on the name. We're doing Monday Mass. I'm gonna watch Babylon 5 and Stargate, and I seriously do intend to do that. Like I do want to make videos about that. It's just my point is like, I have to fit it into the schedule, but I can do it. I'll do it for you guys. Depending on the weather when I watch. Cold and raining, I would always watch. After midnight, I watch more YouTube. I stream more in the mornings. I live in Detroit and have viewers on the other side of this world. Of the world. That would require me getting up at a decent time, which is... I don't know. We'll see. I think this is going to be a work in progress. I think this is going to be a work in progress, trying to, find like the best time. Where are the clones? The clones are coming back. The clones are coming back. Slowly, but they're coming back. They're coming back. Is there cream to help with the Riverites? We're gonna have to develop one. I think there is. I think probably some moisturizer and some. Actually, I think they make a spray for it. They make a spray and a cream for it. It's in the back at Walgreens. You have to really just look for it. You can't find it at every place, but you have to get a shot of penicillin in your rear end. That too. It's a whole procedure. Yeah. On that note, since we're talking about skin infections, even though I brought it up. Yeah, an analgesic. You can actually comb riverites out of your hair. Tim Russ knows all about coming forth. All right, yeah. This has been a great stream. I hate to, yeah, as long as it's not ivermectin, yeah. This is the first time I've said this, but please get vaccinated if you haven't already. I feel like I do have a responsibility to at least say that on my platform. Please get vaccinated if you haven't. I've gotten both of my shots, and I plan to get a booster when I can. Let's end this pandemic, shall we? And on that note, after mentioning a COVID, which has now become a political topic, thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, I'll see you either next week or definitely next month, because this is part of a Patreon and members perk where I come on and do my monthly Q&A. But I guess the cat is out of the bag. It was going to happen eventually, where I become a weekly streamer. And yeah, we'll see how things turn out. But thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time. Ghosts Friday and Q in November.